So like my intro sucks and I just started editing the video and it needs a new intro. So I just wanted to say there's like very little editing in there. There's like no randomly added clips. So it's just like, it's basically the raw video with just some things cut out in it. But yeah, it's just like the first story time I'm probably going to keep up. So just make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and like do that now. Because I know none of y'all are going to watch the end of the video. But yeah, hope you enjoy. Okay, so I don't remember the exact date of the story time. All I know is that it was sometime in April, from like April 7th to April 17th in 2017, which was my 6th grade year. So it was a normal day. I went down to my trampoline to do some flips. That's what I do like daily, or that's at least what I did daily. And now I'm starting to do it daily again. So I was doing flips, my normal stuff, and it rained probably an hour before I went to go do flips. So trampoline was kind of wet, a little slippery, but for the most part it was like kind of dry. It was just like a little slippery. So I decided to do a backflip, which of course is like a normal flip for me to do. And then when I landed, my feet split the trampoline open. And then I ended up falling. So I was like this when my feet hit, and then I fell backwards. But like, mind you, only like this part of the trampoline split open, like the rest of it was like still intact. So when my head hit it, the rest of the trampoline split open. Well, when I fell through, I ended up hitting a rock because the location of the trampoline was over like a bunch of rocks and like roots and stuff like that. So I hit the rock. Then I was laying there for like a minute or so, and I stood up, and then I like looked at the trampoline and I was like, oh great, that's fun. So I walked into my house and went to my room, took some Tylenol because I just had a little bit of a headache and I didn't think anything of it because I've never had a concussion before and I've never split open a trampoline. And we've had the trampoline for about 5 years before this happened. So I just didn't know a lot about trampolines and how you're supposed to like take the mats off over the winter so it doesn't dry rot. You're supposed to replace it every 5 years. Yeah, I didn't know about all of that. So I went to sleep and I didn't really think much of me hitting my head on the rock and like splitting the trampoline, like falling through. Well, I went to school that day and like I was like drowsy and tired and like confused and like wasn't processing anything because I hit the cerebral cortex, I think that's what it's called, in my brain, which is like right here. That is responsible for processing data and speech and stuff like that, and like everything was like messed up with me. I was like talking weird, like slow. I was drowsy, confused the whole day. So my 6th period, which every Monday was my challenge class, which if you don't know it's like the gifted program. Some schools don't have it, but yeah. So I went to that class for like, I was in there for about 20 minutes and then my teacher was like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine. And she was like, are you sure? Because you're acting really weird. And she was like, did anything happen? I was like, yeah, I just fell through my trampoline. And she was like, oh, well, just like rest a little bit and like, yeah, just like take it easy for this class. So I did that, and then she like kept noticing that I was acting like super weird, and everyone was like, okay, you're acting like really weird. So she looked at my pupils and she noticed that one of them was bigger than the other, and like they weren't like, is the word dialecting? I don't know. It's something like that. Like they weren't, like when you shined it in my eyes, like they weren't like going small how you're supposed to do. They're like kind of big, or like one was bigger than the other, and that's a sign of a concussion. So she told me to go to the nurse, so I went to the nurse. And she checked my eyes and she was like, yeah, you probably have a concussion. And I got checked out. Or like I rested there, and then my mom, like I rested in the back office, and then my mom picked me up. So we went to the hospital, and I was in there for a good hour. Then someone went in there and they did, like they checked my eyes and stuff like that, my vitals, the normal stuff. And they were like, yeah, he probably has some concussion. But my mom was like, okay, he's acting really weird. and she thought that someone like slipped me something in school, like a drug. So she had a drug test done on me, which came back negative because I'm a good child. I don't do drugs, nothing like that. It was negative. So then she was like, okay, yeah. So then they like did this, like the check for the concussion, and they said that I had a concussion, but they didn't know the severity of it. So then they did some x-rays and stuff like that, and they still weren't sure how bad it was, but they knew it wasn't, like it wasn't like a minor concussion. It was more severe than that. So they told me to, like, to get out. They were like, okay. So he had his fingers like this, and he was like squeeze his fingers as hard as I could. So I did it, and he was like, are you like squeezing as hard as you can? I was like, yes, I'm like squeezing as hard as I can. So he told me to do it again, and like apparently I was like barely even squeezing him. It was like really soft. So then he was like, we probably need to do like a CAT scan and MRI on him to see if he has permanent or semi-permanent nerve damage. So I got rushed in an ambulance to Vanderbilt, and on the way there, I had, like, you know, they had the thingy on my finger to check my heart rate, and the person in the back of the ambulance started, like, freaking out because my heart rate was, like, 20, and it was, like, the whole ride, it was, like, 20, like, 20, 30, like, in that range. So he was like, okay, this is, like, crazy, because he's never seen anyone go that low, which later on I figured out like the athlete's heart rate is like super low, and like it's a good thing to like some extent. Like mine was good, but like other times when it's like 20, it's like bad. So I got in the hospital room in the child section of Vanderbilt, and they were like doing all this stuff, and then I got prepared for my CAT scan. So I went and did that. I had to do it. Wait. Okay, I'm getting these mixed up. Isn't the CAT scan like the little tube thingy? Wait, let me check. Okay, yeah, so I had the MRI done, and it was like in the tube thingy, you know, like the magnetized one, and they made sure like all my pockets were empty. So I had to do that twice, because the first time I ended up moving because it was so cold in there, because I said turn off the fan, but they thought I said turn up the fan, so they had it like full blasting. I was freezing cold, so like I started moving and like yelling to like tell them to turn it off, and they couldn't hear me because of how loud it is. So me moving ended up stopping the thing. So then I was like, it's too cold in there, so they finally turned off the fan, and then we had a successful one done on me. And then I went in there, and then they did a CAT scan on me after, so that went good. And then when I got in the hospital thing, they were like, he doesn't have any permanent brain damage, but then they figured out that my concussion was moderate to severe. It was like on like the more severe side, but it was still moderate to severe. Like it was a bad concussion. For being my first one, it was like really bad. So they told me to stay home for 5 days, or like for a week, and not go to school. So I did that, and then when I went back to school, we had state testing that day. And since I had my concussion, like I was very, very sensitive to light. Like I wasn't allowed on my phone, a computer, or like I could watch TV if it was like super far away from me. Like I had to rest all the time and stuff like that. I had to have my lights turned off because of how sensitive my eyes were. So I went into school, and then I did the testing. I had to do it in another room where like they had to like turn the lights down a little bit, but like enough to where I could see the test. I think I had like 2 hours to do the test, where like the normal time was like an hour. So I did the test, did terrible on it. That was the literacy part. I think I got a 52 on it. And then I did the next day was the math part. I did that in the normal classroom. For some reason, they put me in like the normal classroom and gave me the normal amount of time, when the hospital specifically said, first off, that I wasn't supposed to take the test, and secondly, if I did take it, not to put me in the classroom while I did that. And the normal classroom, like all the kids, and giving me extra time. But they ended up putting me in the normal classroom and giving me the same amount of time for the rest of the test. And the math one, I did terrible on. I forgot the score. Then it was the science. I did terrible on it. And it's all studies. I did terrible on it. And I was like freaking out all summer because I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna get held back because of the scores, because they're probably gonna like attach it to my like final grade, and I was gonna get held back, and like I was freaking out. But luckily, they didn't put it with my final grade, because that would have been terrible. So I have terrible memory now from it. Yeah, I remember like nothing, or I remember some stuff, but it's like very little, and I have to like, it has to be said a lot for me to remember it. Like someone will tell me something, and then like a minute later I'll forget it. But yeah, this is like my little substitute video for my video that I was gonna do, and I hope y'all enjoyed. Make sure to follow all my social medias. They should be like right here and in the description if you're too lazy to. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video and comment on it, because that's how my video gets shown to people. So yeah, you should do that, and I will see you in next week's video. And remember, I post on Tuesday at 4 p.m. I'm gonna try that, and then when it doesn't work, and when I get like tired of it, then I'm probably gonna like space it out a little more. But yeah, also leave video ideas in the comments below. But yeah, bye.